Hello, Trashfuture listeners. Just a quick heads up before this episode starts. We've got a bunch of live shows going on for which there are tickets available. Milo is at Edinburgh Fringe, and there's a link in the show notes to his show, which is going on basically every day this month. Additionally, for our Australia tour, we now have tickets available for the Sydney show. That is on November 10th. It's at the Great Club in Marrickville. There's a link in the show notes. We'll be appearing with friend of the show, special guest Tom Walker. Additionally, there are still about 30 tickets left for the second night in Melbourne. There's also a link in the show notes for that. And hopefully in the next week or so, I should have a link up for you to purchase tickets for our show in Canberra. That'll be on the night of the 15th of November. So yes, Australian fans, we are, in fact, inbound in about 100 days. So if you want to see us there, tickets are available. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello and welcome to this free episode of TF.
It's the free one.
Yes, that's right. Milo's still not back. We've just got a soundboard of all the stuff he says.
That's right.
I think this is the first time I've dialed in for an episode where Riley's been in the studio, so I'm getting the experience of looking through the studio webcam for the first time ever.
And how is that?
It's great. It makes you look so small.
You can see the big standee of Elon Musk covered in stickers.
Yeah. He's normally behind me.
Don't give them a peek behind the curtain. That's the reason the curtain is there.
Keep the
Go
curtain
peeking
closed.
behind the curtain, you hogs. However, a fond hello from us to you on this fine day. I got a question though to my friends. We're back in the Trad Kingdom. What are our jobs, friends?
Oh God, this thread. I hated it less when it was the original "What's your job?" and the sort of yogurt advert commune. But now it's back in this Byzantine tradcath, weird combination, posted on Twitter. What would your job be in the Trad Kingdom?
Yeah, the kingdom of tradliness.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, my answer was I think
Transylvania.
all of us would be churls.
What's a churl?
Like a serf.
Okay.
We would have no fiefs. We would have no lands. We
I got
would
no
be
fiefs.
We would be oafs. We would be peasants. We would be serfs.
Okay, yeah. Podcasters are the oafs of the
that is true.
community.
Maybe we could be traveling oafs. Maybe that's our role in the Trad Kingdom after the Republicans get everything they want and
bring out oaf wares to every passing settlement.
That's right.
I think I personally, I think there's a company of lens grinders in Milan that thinks that they can give Christendom access to the heavens, and we could release some pamphlets that debunk their outlandish claims.
You would be a good pamphleteer. That's true.
Exactly. It depends. I mean, if we're talking 50, no, you know what it is 1500s is far too early modern to be trad. No.
Yeah. Well, the thing
That's
is,
right.
it would be very anachronistic because the Trad Kingdom is 2030s United States, but run on a sort of Ren Fair basis. Now that all of the social mores of the Middle Ages or the early modern period have been restored, so
Absolutely.
You would still be a traveling oaf, but you would be a traveling oaf working on working in a Tesla gigafactory or whatever.
Yeah.
Traveling Jersey Shore oaf.
Are you saying we're gonna bring back the big pants or the tonsures or whatever?
Yeah. But your job will still be posting, essentially.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's everyone just is annoyed that I won't shut up about how much I like jigs. I'm a jig purist, just obsessed with this one coaching in Brandenburg that does great jigs for days at a time.
Correct.
It was really funny though, because if you remember the original sort of communist thread that was what would your job in the commune be? All of the answers to that were cop. Right, because that's just how communists are. We just love to become police officers. It happens to us at a certain stage in our lives. And so if you ask any communist the question, what will your job be after the revolution? It's cop. In this case, they asked a bunch of neo-reactionary trads what their ideal job would be. And it was all of them were like, oh, I'd probably be like an Eminence Grise, a power behind the throne, a trusted advisor of the king, something like that.
Of
Look,
course.
the king needs someone who's read the Wikipedia page for Prince Machiavelli.
No one's like, I'd be making horseshoes.
No.
I did a bit of research for this question, and I think I came up with like two good answers. The first is that I do not dream of labor. The second, so I don't have a dream job. But the second is if I'm forced to participate in medieval capitalism, then I would like the job of the gong farmer.
Remember when the gong farmer was hard?
That's right. I feel like, there is a certain nobility with having a job where like your job is to pick up poo and to organize the poo, and to do so with silence and with the nobility of like maintaining some type of like excremental order in the kingdom.
Remember when the gong farmer had a halberd?
Yeah, and also like based on like these kind of little articles that I read on like in preparation for this question, apparently the gong farmer was like the gong farmer.
The gong farmer.
Yeah, there's a good bit.
The gong farmers like were actually like fairly well respected, not well paid, but well respected among medieval societies. So.
Yeah, they're like nurses, badly paid but well respected.
Yeah, exactly. So
interestingly, did you know that they actually they got the king's pleasure barge to do circles in the Thames to honor the gong?
How is it that the coachman's guild are getting a pay rise, and yet the gong farmers are still on 14 shillings a week?
Look, if you want to ask how pray tell, are we all going to find our various dream jobs as traveling churls and gong farmers, and someone who's just killed at the king's pleasure on his barge.
Yeah, benevolent sort of philosopher advisors, all of this.
Yeah. It's that. Remember how last week we were slightly concerned that we were going to cause a recession because price controls are,
would not just cause a recession, but cause a recession on purpose, and that would lower inflation.
Yeah. Well, the Bank of England Monetary Policy Committee met, and they looked at the big red button that said, "Warning: will cause recession. Do not push." And brother, they pushed it.
Oh no. One of those little buttons that has the like clear plastic shield on the top that you have to flip up. Two of them have to like turn keys simultaneously.
Yeah. They decided
they fully
to
just pressed it.
Yeah, they pressed the button.
Okay.
What that means is they've raised borrowing rates by like 0.5%, I think, rather than 0.25%. It sounds like a very small difference, but basically what that means is they're just going to chase inflation up with higher borrowing costs. More or less forever, and have determined that yes, this is going to put the economy into a recession. It's going to last about as long as the recession in 2008, so we're not going to return to
Which
growth
had
again.
No negative consequences.
No, not a single one. No, and more importantly, not a single political ramification. For example, nothing was sort of reconfigured forever. No institutions had their sort of, I'd say, public legitimacy permanently damaged beyond repair. By the sort of the effects of the 2008 recession, where the state looked at you and looked at sort of the fact that it was no longer able to like perform its democratic mandate of, well, why would we buy into this, everything that's happening, right? If it's not really going to make us better off, and just said, fuck you, you get nothing.
Well, what you get is hopefully a slightly less high inflation rate. So, it won't be as catastrophically expensive to buy all of your stuff. However, it will still be catastrophically expensive.
Yeah. It's going to be stuff you can't afford, but not by as much.
Well,
in maybe 10 years.
The important thing is, if you can't afford to buy a loaf of bread, right, that's better than being able to afford it but having to bring the money for it in a wheelbarrow, because that would be ridiculous.
Yeah, that'd be too silly looking.
Yeah. You'd be laughed at by all the other oafs.
Yeah, that's right. So
yeah, the gong farmer would point at you while you're carrying your wheelbarrow of cash and your bow tie.
Oh no, that's one of the most respected members of my community.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So this is from a Q&A with Andrew Bailey from the MPC. The question was, are there any scenarios that are not catastrophic for the least well-off and also pretty devastating even for average earners? To which he said, the bank is very conscious that the poorest are hit hardest by inflation, but if we don't bring it back to target, it's going to get worse, and it'll get worse precisely for those who are least well-off. However, he added that he has huge... So it's like, look, it's fucked either way, basically, is what he says. So he says he has huge sympathy and huge understanding for people who are struggling most with this. And and it says, I'm afraid, and it says that we're basically have to reduce consumption already when people are already consuming kind of the bare minimum nothing to get by.
Yeah, this is the sort of thing that in the trad kingdom, the guy who had Andrew Bailey's job, the guy who was like in charge of monetary policy, would be telling the king, okay, now is the point at which, the peasants are going to have to eat some grass over this.
Yeah.
But you can't say that. So instead you have to say, oh, well, we're between the devil and the deep blue sea. We're between inflation and like cost of living. I guess he is right that there is no like better option if you're going to have an economy constituted the way that we have one.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just you might start asking dangerous questions like, well, why do we have an economy constituted the way that we have one?
And I mean, I think if the comparisons between this present moment and 2008, I think are quite appropriate to make, because if we're starting to talk about a recession that's might not be as deep as in 2008, but will probably be as long, everyone is starting, or the vast majority of people are starting from a much
more about depth than length.
Much worse position, right? The people who are least able to bear a recession are starting with less. So I think that if you want to think about
they're on their
this,
prestige of recession now.
So
they've done one.
And if you want to think about like how long did it really take for the political ramifications of the 2008 recession to become clear?
Too soon to tell.
Yeah. Thank you. Was that Zhu Enlai?
I believe so. Yes.
Or apocryphally.
I'm on a sort of lifelong quest to reference that quote in as many podcast episodes as I can.
Absolutely. But the thing is, we can say too soon to tell, but we can also say, like I sort of alluded to earlier, the idea that these long-standing sort of liberal institutions that were sort of products of the the sort of the mid 20th century or sort of inherited from earlier, these things that are supposed to keep everything running, these things where it's so important that a public faith in them remains strong. These are faith in these institutions is going to erode much further.
Yeah, well, I think my serious answer is about 8 years, right? That's your gap between the financial crisis in 2008 and the year when politics became normal, 2016, the year that it's been every year since then. I think maybe foolish to predict anything like this, but ask me in 8 years' time if I'm not like some charred bones. And if the politics are even worse than now in a way that seems like a step change, then I'll be like, that's because of that episode of the podcast I recorded. Incidentally, do you have
before
any food?
Electricity ceased to be a thing?
I will fully be looking like one of the sort of scavengers, one of the raiders in the road. But so if you get the chance to ask me that question before I like hack off some of your limbs for meat, then it's because of this. It's because of this right now.
It's because of this happening now. And the thing is, I mean, if you want to sort of pull back a little bit further, right? I mean, what's happening? One of the reasons that that 2008 happened was that there's this overextension of credit and power to a deregulated banking industry that we assumed would just sort of solve a lot of issues, and then some music stopped, and then everything fell apart. A lot of that being because
we wanted them to lend like crazy, and now we also want them to lend like crazy because we're raising interest rates. So,
and our leaders bravely ask, "What if the music never stopped?" Has anyone considered that?
But I mean, in this case, right? Instead of instead of a global crisis, I mean, there is a sort of a global crisis that's happening. It's just very acute in Britain because our political institutions are essentially just set up like a gigantic target for this sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Where, if you remember, right, if you can think that if instead of banks in the previous crisis, it's sort of energy companies in this crisis. If you think about the fact that that we deregulated the energy sector to the point where a couple of guys just had a go at starting an energy company, forgot to hedge any of their prices, and so then went out of business at the cost of, I think, £60 a person per year.
Yeah.
It is. Well, it's kind of indicative of where we are.
That's the thing, right? And I think this speaks to what you're talking about. It didn't have to be this way. We weren't sort of like forced into this position of being like unusually vulnerable to this crisis by geography or destiny or anything like that. Like we chose to, well, our politicians chose to remove all of our gas storage. But like in general, like we have a lot of renewable energy. We could have had a lot of nuclear energy if we'd wanted to. We're not very dependent.
Be like the French.
We're not very dependent on Russian energy. Even when the climate gets extreme, it still doesn't get extreme by European standards yet. There's all sorts of ways in which we could have made this so much easier on ourselves, and we sort of deliberately, perversely chose not to.
Well, it's not even
British
just that
way, the uniquely British position on the world, which has enabled us to be a world leader for so many years. We don't take the easy route, Alice.
Yeah, that's right. Positioning my dick and balls directly over the big mechanized boxing glove that I'm cranking up on a bbig spring.
Government by Nasty the horse.
Surely this won't happen a 45th time. And I mean, this is the thing I think that I want to draw attention to a couple of things, which is just if you look at the chart of rates since 2008, I mean, where it's sort of at 6 around 2008 and then just basically has to be below 1 forever or this happens, It is risen by not that fucking much in order to cause a gigantic fucking catastrophe.
Yeah, it's still under 2%, right?
Yeah. I mean, the question is, will it stay there? Do we expect it to stay there? All that stuff. But the fact that there was and this is what I think comes back to like, it might not be technically as damaging as the previous recession, but distributionally, the people who kind of matter most have the least, or at least matter most, morally in a sense, like politically, if you care about democracy and so on and so on. And so just the fact that we were, I mean, the story of the sort of Anglo-American economies since 1980, 1997, whenever you want to start counting, is basically just finding out how close to the bone you can run everything.
Yes.
How little give can we have while just keeping this going for one more fucking spin of the roulette wheel, essentially. And we just kept going. We pulled out all the kerplunk guys, and the ball was balancing on one kerplunk stick, which was interest rates being nothing.
The kerplunk stick was Vladimir Putin.
Oh shit!
I think the name of the kerplunk stick was 0% interest rates forever. Because if no one has anything and nothing is expected to work, they can't really have much in the way of an interest rate. And we had one. We had nothing, which basically meant like we could sort of imagine an economy into being kind of like a dreamer. Right, yeah. And the product of that was this
allowed various various goofs, Australian money farmers, infiltrating the halls of power, all of this stuff.
And
speaking of Vladimir Putin, did we see Uri Geller issuing a threat to Vladimir Putin yesterday?
Good lord, what's he going to do? What of his is he going to bend?
Well, this is the thing. So Uri Geller was saying, like, Vladimir Putin, if you fire nuclear weapons at the United Kingdom, it will not work because he's going to conjure a force field into being that will cause them to go wrong. And he was inviting the people of Britain to join him in this endeavor. But so then I was obviously like Vladimir Putin with growing horror, pouring himself a bowl of cereal and discovering every spoon in his drawer is bent.
Look, here's the thing. This is all politics. This is all. I'm tired of politics. Boo politics. I want to talk about soul machines.
Okay. You're grinning at me. I don't like that. It makes me uncomfortable. Why are you grinning at me?
Because Soul Machines is asking you three and you at home to say hello to digital people.
I say hello to digital people all the time, and they just get mad at me.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that you can create your digital workforce, the workforce of the future. It's digital people.
Is it The Sims?
Yeah, what if all your employees were Sims?
More or less.
What if they just went, whoa, and then there was a picture of a football above their head? You consider that.
Keep that in mind. So build the future. So I've got Soul Machines in front of me. This is the startup. It's called Soul Machines. Say hello to digital people. I'd like everyone to please navigate to soulmachines.com, including you at home, and just
open our textbooks here.
Just look at some of the new humans, the humans of tomorrow that are being created.
Great, Riley. Not great. Sort of like last gen console tech demo. There's something of the Project Milo about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I was saying like off before we were recording that it reminds me a lot of like the first Final Fantasy movie where the film was really bad, but like they marketed as like this is advanced animation and all the characters like look like real humans, and it was just like very unsettling to watch. And when I look at these, it's like in all cases, there's like I'm looking through like the use cases.
I see one.
And there is one where they talk about so there's a section called lifelike thinking, and this comes in the use case for financial services, and like there is a GIF of one of the Soul Machine women who kind of like there is one section where she just gives off this very evil smirk, and I'm just kind of like, this is the smirk that someone would give me as they tell me that like I can't afford to pay my mortgage and I'm going to be homeless.
Yeah, and also the doors are already sealed. I see another use case here, which is you can get customer insights in a powerful new way with your new digital customer experience officer. And what this is it presents you the data that you gather from your customers. And then this digital woman tells you it in the form of a sort of a fake woman. In the form of like a fake like video call. And what they've done here is they've invented the sort of like traditional SimCity advisors again. You just have a little fake person to talk to who says you can't cut funding, you'll regret this or whatever.
So
you'll
this
regret
is essentially
this. You will rue.
So essentially, what we have is we have a company that creates what it considers to be like lifelike animations of people with what it calls
one of Will.i.am.
Well, that's not the only celebrity they did. I'll get to that one later.
More like Will I'm Not.
Yeah.
Is that it is an animation of a person from the shoulders up, and they have this sort of deep AI that is supposed to be a digital brain where they can react and talk empathetically to anyone talking to them. So if you smile at them, they'll kind of mirror your expression. So you're sort of tries to trick you into thinking you're talking to a real person. And they can also, according to the ad copy, not just do that, but they can like perform tasks. So in an interview about the digital workforce, this is what the co-founder said. At some point in the future, you might be able to create a digital version of yourself or multiple versions of yourself, and they can go out and do stuff, make money for you, make money for your company. Well, you're doing something else that's a whole lot more fun. So that's the idea, is that you can make a digital twin that looks exactly like you, go send them to work at the spreadsheet factory, but then they're only working also with other digital twins and for your boss's digital twin.
It's a good thing that this does not work, right? Because if this worked like the way that they market it, that would raise some serious ethical quandaries. Luckily, it doesn't raise any serious ethical quandaries because this is bullshit.
Well, that's the thing. When I found this company, I was like, wow, this is very. No, I'm going to save that for a sec.
Because the website is like basically like, hey, check this out. These are real people, and also they're like your slaves. And you can accrue more of them to serve you. And it's like, no, that's not what it is. What it is you've put a sort of a tech demo face on, at best, a chatbot, right? But the vibe from the marketing of this is very much like you can sort of like exercise dominion over these very real, these souls, these people.
Yeah, it's
and it's like it's Detroit become human shit is what it is.
I was going to say what it really is it's an opportunity for a middle manager to have or at least it's pitched as the opportunity.
Oh, there's a cop one. If you go to use cases, public sector, there's a cop one.
Well, what it is, it's an opportunity for middle managers to have the experience of being like a great Viking warrior and having thralls follow you into Valhalla. Essentially.
They got New Zealand police to sign up to this for their non-emergency number. You can talk to Ella, who is quite literally a RoboCop. Yes.
So it says, they say, what is it? So C, digital people see through the camera, allowing their digital brain to react to facial expressions and mannerisms and respond accordingly in real time.
Digital brain.
They hear through the microphone, and their digital brain instantly processes
it's trying so
response.
hard to make you think that this is a person and like empathize with them on the one hand, being like, oh, they basically have a soul. If you hurt their feelings, they will start crying. But on the other hand, we actually make it extremely easy to abuse them.
Abuse of our digital staff will not be tolerated.
No, it'll be encouraged. This is like sort of like the vibe of this is sadism, really.
I think somehow it'd be worse if you like did abuse one of the soul like machine avatars, and because the whole kind of selling point, as far as I can see with them, is that like they are very unlike your kind of like bland avatars that sort of either have like a monotone expression or they kind of just smile all the time. These ones are supposed to sort of show you a range of emotions, which means that in theory you could hurt the emotions of a soul machine by telling them that it really sucks that they're going to be made homeless and being told about it by an avatar. And that will stop you from doing it because you'll have to think about the soul machine's mental health.
Well, some of the use cases of this go to not just financial services, not just, refusing your mortgage or kicking you out of your house, but to, as we've seen, cops, to healthcare, to education. Even. There's a lot of sort of use cases here where you're going to be interacting with people who are highly stressed, and often the job here, which I sort of feel quite ambivalent about taking away from a human, is telling people things that they do not want to hear, telling them that you cannot help them. And so, maybe on the one hand, this is sort of a digital punch bag for people to, this thing tells you that, tells you what your hospital bill is going to be. And, you cry and it perceives that and the person doesn't have to, which is it perceives way that more fucked and like isolating in the long run.
Well, it perceives that and appears to empathize with you.
Yes.
Again, according to the copy, this is what they say it does.
We have like engineered out the a necessity of empathizing with anyone, because that was making people who did have to do these jobs very sad.
Yeah, this does basically feel like a way of being like, well, we're not going to like. We understand that you want to speak to humans, and we understand that you want to have interactions with people that like you can relate to. But instead of doing that, we're gonna take different iterations of Milo from Xbox and give them emotions so that when you shout at them as they keep repeating your parcel number, you can see that they're getting sad, and that will make you feel really good.
Would you like to feel more lonely because you can now only ever speak to a fake person?
What we have done is we have like in Silence of the Lambs, we have draped Clippy in a human skin suit.
There's gonna come a point at which you're sort of pouring your heart out to one of these things, and you're like, can I speak to a real person? And it's gonna call you racist for calling a person a real person.
So I have a more list of what it can do. I have a bigger list of what it can do. Touch. They can feel the intent of the user through a touch screen and are able to interact with virtual objects. So you can sort of touch them and they'll react to a touch screen.
I like that even less in the context.
Now you can sexually assault an AI.
Think. In a conversation, digital people can imagine potential outcomes, weigh criteria, and make decisions about what to say next. This is where it very much gets to being like, they definitely have a soul.
Yeah.
Learn. They can learn through interaction with the world and understand human emotions through facial expression, tone of voice, and show empathy. That's the important one, of course.
Dude,
when
I
you
know
look at the
people who can't do that shit. Come on.
When you look at the industries that it's in, as you all pointed out, either like healthcare, financial services, education,
being a
like public
RoboCop.
sector, being RoboCop, like there are a lot of people. It's just there to empathize with the fact that nothing can be done for you.
We gave RoboCop anxiety. Why did we do that?
In addition to
RoboCop
speech,
with imposter syndrome.
in addition to speech, digital people understand how to communicate with their faces. They can express attentiveness, openness, thoughtfulness, and optimism. Intuitive behaviors and enhanced expressions allow digital people to autonomously add emotionally appropriate eye contact and have more depth in their emotions.
Sexy eye contact.
Yeah. So here's an example where it says, Florence, for example, had a decent facial mimicking feature. This is a journalist writing about it. When I smiled at her, she smiled back, and it was a lovely, genuine-looking smile that actually endeared me to her.
And that's how you know she wasn't a real woman.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. This is so the weak link of that interaction is you, the human. We fucking pair bond with anything. We love to do it. You stick a pair of googly eyes on a kettle, and we will get sad because what if the kettle feels sad?
What if the kettle's too hot?
Yeah, it doesn't require any kind of like technological innovation to make us empathize with something. We do it for free.
It also feels kind of counterintuitive because and this is obviously it's only based on anecdotes, but I feel like most people kind of care a lot about they're very good at like anthropomorphizing things, and they care a lot about like the stuff we do, but they fucking hate humans. Like I don't understand like the premise or even like the concept that like, oh, when people interact with like things that look like them in digital space, that like and as long as they and the more they look like, you know, the person they're talking to, the more kind of human an interaction will be. Like there is no example of like where that has ever come into where like that has ever been proven. And if anything, like people love abusing other people that they have no like human obligation to, like if any like if the kind of like if dating apps and like or any real type of app is kind
customer
of like
service
customer service in particular, right? Like if these have proven anything, it's like no, actually people really love fucking like venting and like trying to abuse other people, but often out as an expression of powerlessness.
But if you remember, this isn't just for that, right? It's also for stuff like being your digital customer experience officer. It's supposed to try and take a lot of these communicative jobs and trying to say, what if we just automated them like we automated the McDonald's?
Battalion customer experience officer.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? Give me the fucking robot if it can solve my problem. But usually they can't. However, we've also reached a point where like usually the people can't solve the problem either because they've turned them into robots. Because like when you deal with most of these customer services department, everyone is reading off a script. And so if you're trying to resolve a problem that doesn't follow the script, people are like, I'm afraid that's not what I have written on the card. You're like, okay, can I speak to a human higher up the food chain who isn't operating from a pre-written set of scripts?
Can I speak to a human who's allowed to like exercise autonomous thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, I think that the one of the other things there is this is definitely attempting to be about much more than customer service. It's trying to take what automation and outsourcing did for much of the labor force and do it for the for much of the sort of physical labor force and do it for the white collar sort of fake job spreadsheet guy, marketing analyst, labor force.
They're coming from management consultants.
Yeah, well, it's very timely in our current age of it feels like half the people have just disappeared due to a combination of a bunch of people dying of COVID and a bunch of people becoming disabled because of COVID, and also a bunch of people being forced out of the economy and outside of the wire, outside of Fiddler's Green, and outside of our site, and more and more atomization. So it's great because now we don't have to worry about this because you can get it from a sim instead.
And it
doesn't work.
It's a sim that we're going to save the verdict for the end. It's a sim that has what's called a digital brain with cognitive modeling, where it's all of this stuff is supposed to heavily imply that this is basically a person, as far as you're concerned, who is going to be able.
Brain is. It doesn't have a digital brain.
And wouldn't okay? So let's. This is the killer paragraph of what I've read. Right? It says, "While Soul Machines has a clear, this is from TechCrunch, has a clear outline of the ways it can enhance the future of, for example, customer experience, it still has a ways to go to get the tech where it needs to be. The digital people that are now in the market are essentially visual chatbots."
There we go.
Yeah, there it is. We've draped Clippy in human skin.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah. They seem to only be able to answer scripted questions in a phrased in a specific way, and have a few responses that they just cycle through. So it's not just that; it's an Oblivion NPC.
It would be like fine. Well, it wouldn't be fine. I would still have all of my other objections. But if they had marketed it on that basis, like, we made very nice-looking chatbots that'll like allow you to, have a sort of pleasant visual experience while you get all of this shit. Fine, whatever. Why is all of the marketing for this like? It feels joy. And it experiences beauty. Why?
I can tell you exactly why the marketing is led like this. It's from the next paragraph in the article I was reading. The funding, it was led by new investor SoftBank.
There we go.
That's going to be why.
Asked and answered. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen a SoftBank company like really step up to the plate with just some absolute fucking madness. And
the thing is, right, I could duplicate or improve upon every result that they claim to be achieving with this by sticking a pair of googly eyes on a self-checkout machine. You put a little name label on the self-checkout machine that says, "Hi, I'm Robert," or whatever. Yeah. Exactly the same, if not better, response.
Mr. Robert checkout machine.
Yeah, exactly. And yet I am not being given Series A funding by SoftBank. Which to me is an injustice.
The checkout machines, when they get too human, are a bit unnerving. So I don't know if you've experienced the ones they have in the Sainsbury's, because what happens is throughout the checkout process, the Sainsbury's checkout machine will talk to you in kind of like robot voice, like, "Please scan an item." And then suddenly, right at the very end of the process, when you're done, it changes voice into like Cockney Aunt Brass and goes, "Do you want a receipt?" And it fucks
voice
me up every time. "Do you want a receipt?"
Yeah. So we had that's part of the answer, right? Is that SoftBank has come up with this thing. Another thing that it's saying is that like, and you can sort of see them slowly de-emphasizing this from a lot of their copy, but for a while they were like, "This is the workforce of the metaverse, a fake place with no one in it that we're populating with fake people who are going to be doing all of the bullshit jobs for you, but you don't have to pay them." It's kind of a strange, like, backwards solution to a lot of the sort of standard problems of capitalism, right? Where it's like, well, what if all of the workers, we've sort of recognized that a lot of the workers are sort of surplus, like managerial overproduction at this point. So we're just gonna like let them create a digital version of themselves that's gonna like, where one just sort of takes papers and puts them in the in tray, and then one puts them back in the out tray, and they just pass them back and forth 24 hours a day forever. But the problem, it sort of misses the point that the point of a lot of that work is just to keep those people busy. And so the idea that this was going to be a primarily metaverse first thing instead of like a sort of mostly now a chatbot thing that mostly exists in the normal world, I think it's quite perfect for just encompassing the strange abstraction that whole sort of 3 months, I think, where that was like the future was meant to be. We're just going to populate this like Second Life. We're going to populate the whole thing with bots and then like 4 perverts. But they did have one press release that I wanted to talk about. This is released on June 7th of 2 months ago, rather. June 7th of 2 months ago. Perfect. Soul Machines, the groundbreaking company pioneering the creation of autonomously animated digital people in the metaverse and digital worlds of today, announced the launch of a new entertainment division with the goal of creating unique and highly personalized experiences, redefining fan engagement and entertainment enterprise. And this is after they got their funding from SoftBank. They did this. The new division will launch its inaugural digital person an avatar of legendary American golfer Jack Nicklaus.
You have selected Power Drive.
yeah. Come on, you guys missed Lee Carvalho.
Yeah, so much.
Yeah. With this launch, Soul Machines continues its quest to redefine the future of digital entertainment with hyper-realistic digital twins of real-life celebrities, entertainers, and public figures.
So that's why Will.i.am. Okay.
I demand Michael Barrymore. Put Michael Barrymore in there.
Digital Jack Nicklaus depicts Jack at the age of 38, the height of his playing career.
Let me tell you something about digital Jack Nicklaus. I don't know what Jack Nicklaus sounds like.
It's Jack Lemmon.
I'm doing Jack Nicholson instead.
Yeah. Digital Jack has the ability to provide a range of user experiences
Jack
by
is a
answering...
different website.
Digital Jack has the ability to provide a range of user experiences by...
digitjacks.com.
Oh, it's weird. It's they've called him Jackmate. Anyway, Jackmate has the ability to provide a range of user experiences by answering questions from fans, providing insight based on more than 60 years of memories. So essentially what they did is they asked him a few questions and then like put those into a chatbot. And so if you ever, so mostly what happens if you ask like an off-kilter question to a chatbot, they'll just deflect. So you can just like, I don't know, pay like $10 for a virtual meet and greet with like a 38-year-old version of an almost dead professional golfer.
Yeah, and you can hear all the classic Jack Nicklaus phrases like, the golf, you can't handle the golf.
It's so cool that you can't even die anymore. Yeah. Like, if you're famous, like if you've ever been recorded on anything for film, or, you know, your personality, your likeness can just be redeployed to do whatever. I like that. I think that's cool.
Jack Nicklaus has been sent to the Donbass.
It's again, like, if this actually was more than just what it appears to be, which is a chatbot with the Final Fantasy spirits within animations, then you would be confined to a sort of unlife. However, what it seems to be mostly offering is a kind of Hall of Presidentization, but for everyone who's been able to give them like
not to get too Zizek here, but I find the Hall of Presidents is itself a kind of unlife. I find, if anything, I find it creepier than something that was sentient. That's sort of like that you know, now he belongs to the ages kind of immortality. I really don't like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's I think that there is this sense, you know, I mean, like, number one, they're also resurrecting people, right? They're going to bring back Marilyn Monroe, so you're going to be able to get to like
leave her alone. I don't even like her that much, but like at some point, the obsession with Marilyn Monroe that we just kind of like kicked back into gear in the last couple of years it's downright perverse.
Well, I mean, don't forget, really, what they're going to do, of course, is they're going to they're going to basically like go into like an RPG character creator, make a Marilyn Monroe looking face that is essentially very scary to look on for more than a few seconds. And then if you're going to be like, hey, what's your favorite thing to sing? And it will be like, happy birthday, Mr. President. And then, you know, you've paid your $10 to, you know, do your meet and greet with virtual Marilyn Monroe.
It's macabre. I insist that this is macabre also.
But we can't even do macabre well. It's sort of too ham-handed and sort of shitty. It's kind of like it's like a kind of budget haunted house that's asking to be taken very seriously. But like you can see that the Wolfman's wearing a digital wristwatch and he's probably like high. You know. Anyway, that is Soul Machines.
Smoke that shit. Now I'm the digital Wolfman.
Sorry. I have one more paragraph. If a user asks a question that's not easy to answer, this is Viola, one of the people that a journalist talked to. Viola will provide a standard deflection, or she'll respond in ways that are surprising, if certainly not intended. For example, I asked Viola, "Why do you look sad?" And she responded by pulling up a YouTube video of "I'll Stand By You" by the Pretenders.
I sure love these Viola delights. I hope they don't have Viola ends.
That's sort of where we are, right? You go meet Jack Nicklaus, and then he'll sort of open his mouth 2 or 3 times to say something, and then, you know, pull up a video of Pull up a video of Lee Carvalho's putting challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
The future.
I'm
Isn't
quite
it great,
impressed that
everyone?
it's the Pretenders, to be honest. Viola has quite good taste. I was expecting a more
see
pedestrian
the
choice.
pair bonding. It happens so easily.
Shit. Fuck.
Yeah. Already you think that the Cockney brass from the self-checkout machine is sort of endearing.
Mm.
You'd like to see the self-checkout machine on a soap opera.
I've got such a soft spot for Cockney brasses. They just remind me of my aunts.
Well, with all that being said, I want to say I think that does it for us for today. But we will see you on the bonus episode, and moreover, thank you to my lovely co-hosts for being here. Thank you to you for listening. And
Wait, were they here?
Then also, I'm sorry, we no longer have any tickets to the Edinburgh show.
No,
the Edinburgh show has been
come to it.
sold out.
You can't come.
No, you can't. Nothing.
No.
You have to. You have now. Everyone is. It's now no FAP. No coming to the Edinburgh show.
Mhm.
No coming in the Edinburgh
No
show.
listening
nothing.
to the recording of the Edinburgh show and coming.
Yeah, none of that.
None
That's right.
And Australia dates. We are adding a second night in Brisbane. Brisbane.
We are.
That is right. We have filled the room in Brisbane, but we have another one.
Another one.
We
Thank
found
you, Milo.
2 rooms in a large city.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Against all odds,
Two
we found 2 rooms full
circular
of chairs.
Brisbane.
That's right.
Yes. We have that. We also have tickets on sale soon for Sydney and Canberra. And if we haven't sold out the second night in Melbourne, then we still have that second night in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And also there's Milo.
Melbourne.
Milo's got a show in Edinburgh.
Yeah, if you're coming to Edinburgh, if you're nearby Edinburgh, you can see me every day at the Mash House 435. The show is called Voicemail. It's I had a bunch of comedians in today, which was very nice, and a couple of them have texted me to tell me that they hate me because the show is very good. So that's that's the greatest compliment you can receive.
Oh, absolutely. Your haters give you energy.
Yeah.
So all that being said, we'll see you on the bonus. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.